I walked in and saw my ex's mother on my couch, she said. I wasn't expecting anyone that afternoon. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that settles in after a long day when you're finally alone with your thoughts. So when I opened the front door and saw someone sitting on my couch, my heart nearly stopped. Then I recognized her face. My ex's mother. Sitting there, hands folded in her lap, eyes full of something I couldn't read. She looked up at me and said softly, I didn't know where else to go. Before we begin, if stories about real emotions, unexpected moments, and the power of kindness mean something to you, please take a second to subscribe, like this video, and share your thoughts in the comments. You're watching Heartfelt Moments, and your support helps keep these stories alive. I stood frozen in the doorway, my keys still in my hand. This was the last person I ever thought I'd see in my living room. My relationship with her son had ended 2 years earlier, and it hadn't ended gently. There were harsh words, broken promises, and a silence that followed like a wall slammed shut. She slowly stood up, smoothing the sleeves of her old gray sweater. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older, too. Her hair, once neatly dyed, was now streaked with silver. For a second, neither of us spoke. I'm sorry, she said again. I know this is strange. A dozen thoughts rushed through my head. How did she get in? Why was she here? Should I be angry? Should I ask her to leave? But before I could say anything, I saw her eyes fill with tears. And something in my chest softened. I set my keys down and quietly asked, Are you okay? That question seemed to break her. She shook her head and sat back down, covering her face with her hands. Between sobs, she told me the truth. She had been living with her sister after losing her apartment. Her health had gotten worse. Bills had piled up. And that morning, after a painful argument, her sister had told her to leave. I didn't want to call my son, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. We haven't spoken in months. I know he'd be angry if he knew I came here. I remembered the night she used to invite me over for dinner, how she always sent me home with leftovers wrapped carefully in foil. She was never cruel to me. Even when her son and I were falling apart, she stayed kind. I went to the kitchen and poured her a glass of water. When I handed it to her, our fingers brushed, and she looked up at me like she couldn't believe I was still there. You can stay for a while, I said. At least until we figure something out. Her shoulders sagged with relief. Thank you, she whispered. You've always had a good heart. Over the next few days, a wall turned into something more. I helped her set up the guest room. We talked over coffee in the mornings. She told me stories about her childhood, about raising her son as a single mother, about the regrets she carried quietly. One evening, as we sat watching an old game show, she suddenly said, He messed up with you. I know that. I didn't answer right away. I wasn't ready to reopen old wounds. But her honesty mattered. I loved him, I finally said. But love isn't always enough. She nodded. I tried to teach him kindness. Sometimes people don't learn it until it's too late. A week later, my ex showed up unannounced. I heard his voice before I saw him, sharp and angry in the hallway. When he stepped into the living room and saw his mother sitting there, his face drained of color. What are you doing here? He demanded, looking at me like I'd committed some kind of betrayal. Before I could speak, his mother stood up. Her voice was steady, stronger than I'd heard it in days. I came here because I was scared, she said. And because she showed me more kindness than I expected. He looked between us, confused and shaken. For the first time, I saw something crack in him. Shame, maybe. Or realization. She didn't have to help me, his mother continued. But she did. That's what kindness looks like. He didn't argue after that. He helped his mother pack her things later that week and arranged for her to move in with him. Before she left, she hugged me tightly, holding on longer than I expected. You changed something, she said. In me. In him. Don't ever stop being who you are. After the door closed and the house was quiet again, I sat alone on the couch. The same couch where she had sat days earlier, afraid and unsure. I realized something important in that silence. Kindness doesn't always come at a convenient time. Sometimes it shows up wrapped in discomfort, in old memories, in people you never expected to let back into your life. But when you choose it anyway, it has a way of healing more than just the moment. I never got back together with my ex. That chapter stayed closed. But something else opened. A reminder that kindness isn't about who deserves it. It's about who needs it. And sometimes, the smallest act, opening a door, offering a place to sit, listening without judgment, can ripple out in ways you'll never fully see. So if you ever find yourself face to face with an unexpected moment, a person from the past, or a choice between bitterness and compassion, remember this story. Choose kindness. You never know whose life, and whose heart, you might change.